Hey gang, this is Mike with my Real Estate Dojo. In the next few minutes, I'm going to teach you guys subject to and getting the deal under contract. Alright guys, give me 1 second, let me put my mic on and we'll get started. Alright, let's go ahead and get the question on. Can you see this question here? Alright, let's go.
Hi, Mom, I'm John. My question is a conversion question. And in a subject to agreement or a contract, how do you make the seller feel comfortable in choosing the subject to instead of selling it or owner financing it? How do you make them feel comfortable? What language or questions or answers do you have to give someone to make them feel comfortable enough to sign over a contract and a subject to agreement? Thank you. I appreciate all the knowledge and the information that you share. I'm probably your #1 fan, and I will be buying your products.
All right, so this question came from John, guys, and you heard his question. So this is Michael, my Real Estate Dojo. Thanks for joining me. And the question was, how do you convince a seller to sell you the property subject to, and how do you put it in the contract? Okay. Now, this is against all the stuff that most people teach you. That if you use this tactic, you can do push, pull, expiration. And I don't believe that me and you are able to control another man or another woman. The reason is that I can't even control my own heartbeat. You can't control your own heartbeat. So how are we going to control someone else, right? Now, if you're in the industry where you sell like gadgets or sell like, simple things, then there's little tactics where you could manipulate people for them to make an instant irrational decision. But the problem with that is that they'll have buyer's remorse or seller's remorse. But the real problem comes into real estate investing and buying homes is that it's a very, very long drawn process for the deal to close. It's not like you go to a bazaar and you get a shirt or boom, and you pay the money and that's it. If later on you have buyer's remorse, you can't do much about it. With the home, people have to find a new home. They have to get money for the next home they're going to move to. They have to pack their stuff, get their kids moving out of school, find a moving company, find a storage facility. So, for the loan to go through, for the buyer's loan, there's a very, very, very long process. So, all these tactics, like what they teach you in sales, manipulation in a sense, it's really not going to work in this business because it's not like a quick sell. It's a very long drawn process. And if you don't deal with the seller in a very honest, professional manner and build credibility, then he or she's going to not decide to do the deal for whatever reason. I mean, there was just another friend on Facebook just asked me yesterday that he put a deal on the contract. He told me the investor paid him $25,000 for an assignment fee, and now the seller doesn't want to move, and so he has got an attorney to try to deal with it. So the way I teach it at my dojo is that you're not going to be able to convince anybody anything, especially on a big complex sell like selling your home, dude. It's not like selling a jewelry or selling a piece of shirt or something like that. Okay, it's a very complex, it's a very long drawn process. So the very first thing that I would teach my students is the ability to tell the truth to the seller. Okay, let me give you one example. I mean, I did so many different things. Okay, but one of the things is when a seller asks me, "Hey, Mike, if I sell you the property subject to, is the loan still going to stick in? Is the loan still going to be in my name?" And what I do is I look them dead in the eye like this. "Yes, sir." And then I shut up. All right. And a lot of times, what the seller wants to know is, am I being a flaky seller? I mean, a flaky investor? Am I being a shady investor, or am I an honest, ethical investor? And I just tell them the truth. So when I look at them dead in the eye, I'm like, "Yep," and I'll shut up. A lot of times, he says, "Okay," then he goes to the next question. But if I start doing the two-step dance, but no, I'll give you a long story, it's just gonna arouse like insecurities in the seller because he has to trust you with you making this payment. He has to trust you with his social security, all his private information. And so what I teach is to be very honest and open with the seller. Okay? The number two thing is that I show you, like in a minute, in all my paperwork and all the way I give offers, everything's already in writing for the seller in my contract that explains everything that he needs to know, question that he doesn't even know. For example, like when I do a subject to presentation to a seller, I educate the seller. I talk about stuff that he or she doesn't even think about, right? Like, for example, I talk about the due on sell clause. I talk about the tax consequences for him. I talk about the interest that I'm going to take. I talk about the insurance. I talk about a lot of stuff to educate him, to let him know, what he's signing up for. Okay, and that builds credibility and trust. Okay, the next thing is very important, is to build rapport. All right. And that's not just a simple thing to say, like, I can just tell you in a single word and it's going to be like this. But if the seller doesn't like you, like the situation with my friend on Facebook that got $25,000 and then the seller doesn't want to sell him, the problem is that the seller and him, they didn't bond, right? That there was not that bonding of rapport. And so the guy made a lot of money, and now the seller wants some of it, and now he doesn't want to sell the property, right? But if you had made that bond in that relationship with the seller, the probability of hiring an attorney, probability of filing memorandums, probability of them trying to screw you is significantly less, okay? Significantly less. And the other thing is, you have to understand, is the psychological processes that comes with making a decision. So if you are a seller, you have to understand the psychological processes the seller does to come up with a decision for them to give you a subject to. So that's a very complex thing, and I'm good at it because I've been doing it since I've been in high school selling. But let me give you some tips and pointers. If you try to if you're like, go with the subject to, go with the subject to, go with owner financing, and you keep doing that, the seller's going to say no. So in other words, if you're needy, if you're like, oh, I need this money, or I need to sell, then it comes through like that. Not by your words, by the vibration your body sends out, right? And the other people can feel it in their gut feeling. You heard that saying, right? So it's very, 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 very crucial that you do what I say in my no fluff negotiation. I have one strategy called the superhero closing. And with the superhero closing, what we do is, if I want to buy the house, let's say subject to, I tell the seller all the way down from listing with the realtor to all the way down to bankruptcy, okay, and hire an attorney to do a short sale. I mean, all of it, right? And I allow the seller to make a decision on which one that he likes the best, or which one does he lean to. No, cash, or maybe I want to buy the house subject to, but I don't disclose that to him. I just give him all these options, because it doesn't matter if you somehow I'm going to get rewarded down the line, okay? So instead of saying, hey, go with the subject to, go with the subject to, no, I give him all his option, okay? And I allow him to make the decision. So instead of me trying to manipulate him, instead of me trying to sell him, instead of me trying to convince him, I don't do any of that stuff. I build rapport with him. I provide value to him that nobody else has. I'll provide value that that he can go use and go make money somewhere else, sell it to someone else, come up with a different solution that I don't make any fucking money, right? And then he starts selling himself on me instead of me selling and persuading, okay? It's kind of like the way I do my videos and the way I do my coaching. I never call you guys. I never fucking hard sell you. I know those guys out there called hard closers and they want to close you. I don't do that kind of crap, right? I just add value, and I have faith that by me adding value, by me helping you make money, you're going to convince yourself to buy my products or buy my coaching. And it happens over and over. And it even happens with me, okay? This is not like some trick that I do. Let me give you this example. There's this website that I started using to do some like for my videos to make thumbnails. I started using it, and it was free. And I said, man, I'm never going to pay these people, because I was using a different website. But this company was providing more value and more templates. So after like a week or two of using it, I started thinking to myself, man, dude, if I didn't have these guys, I'd be really fucked. I have to spend so much money for every IT to make this thumbnails. And before you know it, after a couple more weeks, I'm like, damn, this is a good company. So like, I'm thinking to myself, after a week or two, boom, I pay for their subscription and I buy images from them. And I turn around and I tell my girl, I'm like, look, this is the funniest thing. Because when I first met these people, I was like, I'm not going to ever pay these people. I have this other company. Then I started using their stuff, and they would keep adding value. They would keep adding value. And before I knew it, I sold myself on them. And now I was promoting them to other people, like my girlfriend, like I'm telling you guys, and before you know it, I was a raving fan. So I started saying, hey, I'm not going to use these guys. I'm just going to use them for free. And they start giving me value. I start seeing like, damn, I need this shit. I start selling myself on the products, and I start supporting them. They never called me. They never sent me an email. They never solicited me. Nothing, dude. They just give me their stuff. And then once I paid for it, I was like, wow, this is such good stuff. And I was telling my girlfriend about it. I was telling my friend about it. I'm telling you guys about it. And I became a raving fan. And see, this is selling without controlling anybody's heart rate, because you can't control your own heart rate, or anybody else's. So I don't believe in that. All the strategies for sales, they may work for a car dealership, or they may work for selling pizza or selling some cool gadgets, but real estate is really not like that, because there's such a long period of wait before the deal closes. So you have buyer's remorse, you have seller's remorse. So if you work on the foundation part of it, which is being honest, adding value, okay, helping the seller even if you don't make money, okay, those things are going to allow the seller and you to bond. Therefore, you don't have to hire an attorney and spend thousands of dollars, or you don't have to get a deal on the assignment and then you can't sell it because the seller doesn't want to close. It just doesn't happen, okay? Now, the way I structure, now let's go to the third part of your question. The way I structure the deal to get owner financing is by the way I give an offer, okay? When I give an offer, I basically set myself up to have owner financing. And I do that through these two products. Let me go ahead and show you right now. All right. You definitely have to come check this out. It's called the Her Terminator Soft Offer. And in this thing, I do three things. One thing, I take the very complex numbers and I give them a soft offer instead of a hard offer, which allows the seller to get the overview without giving him information overload, right? But that's not the main part. The main part is that this offer letter allows you to get properties at a deep discount, but it tees you up for owner financing because the way the offer letter is and the way I present it to them, and you get exactly the same offer letter that I use. When I give this to my students, they're able to get a lot of owner financing because it allows the seller for them to make a decision. You don't have to persuade them, you don't have to sell them, you don't have to fucking manipulate them. They're gonna go with the owner financing because they see the benefit of it. Where if they want to sell it to you in cash, great, I'm willing to buy it. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't try to force the seller. I give them all their options. In all their options, their superhero closing. When I give them my offer, I have cash in there, I have terms, and I have a variety of different stuff in there. And the seller sees all this stuff visually instead of just some complex realtor offer letter or some attorney letter. Just something that's very, very simple. And that's what I'm saying. If you get it, you're going to be making deals because the way the paper is set up. Okay. So I start with the way I get the offer. The other product that you really need is called my no fluff negotiation acquisition system. Okay, in this idea, there's like 17 different videos, I talk about my superhero closing. I talk about the logical closing offer. I talk about the emotional. I talk about the deadbeat. I mean, like, there's sellers out there that you could buy subject to, but you know they're in a situation where they're like, oh, I want the house for foreclosure. And so if you use a deadbeat closing, you're able to. But hey, if the house goes to foreclosure, they're going to have higher insurance because they're going to have bad credit. It's going to be harder for them to get electricity or cell phone. So all this pitch, right, that helps them shock them like a dead person to revive them back to reality, to help them realize, hey, well, there's another option out there that's not as worse as foreclosure or bankruptcy, okay, or what have you. Or instead of getting at 60 cents on a dollar, why don't you? I'll pay you a higher price with terms. So my no fluff negotiation acquisition system not only does it talk about offers, but it also talks about the psychology of the mindset for that person to come to the very top climax and then decide to jump off themselves. Because if you try to make them jump, try to persuade, they're going to have buyer's remorse. And if you allow them to volunteer, like, you know, I talk about this condo. There was this condo that I bought in Dallas. The ladies, those two Asian people, they moved from California to Dallas. They never saw the property, bought it, but it was in a kind of like a, not a bad part of town, but it wasn't like what they were thinking, and so they were scared of it. And guess what? I sent them a letter. I talked to them. I did all this stuff, and there were multiple investors reached out to them. Okay, they told me, hey, this guy. End of the day, they decided to sell it to me, and I asked them, why did you? But hey, man, what you're gonna say? And they had so many different. Lucky, come here. They had so many different offers, so many different investors out there to help them get this deal, but decided to sell it to me. And I ended up selling for like 34, 33. I don't really remember. It's been a while, and it was the easiest deal ever, dude. I didn't even put the deal on the contract. I mean, the thing is, once you have that bonding with the contract, dude, you know, and other people come. Well, I mean, here's the thing. This is somebody's homestead. And if they don't want to sell it to you, what are you going to do? You're going to spend thousands of dollars paying an attorney, which they're going to tell you that they can help you, but the truth is they can't, dude. Okay? I'm not an attorney, but I hired so many attorneys in my life, and when I realized even though they have a fiduciary duty to you, they're in it to make money, dude. They have so much student debt. They have this nice office. They have to pay the fucking bills. And they're not going to do a superhero closing like I do with my seller and show them every option in the world, even if they don't make money. They're not going to do that, dude. All right? So the point is, you got to brag with these sellers, and you're not going to be able to do that unless you're honest with them, you give them the foundation, you give them value, and then you don't make the decision for them. You allow them to make the decision for themselves by you providing so much options, and then they get to see different options where they could get little money, like a cash offer, or get more money, and you get to control it, and they make the decision. The last information is your contract, dude. Okay, if you use like a normal realtor contract or something very complex, it's hard to read, then guess what, guys? People are not going to sign anything like that. They're going to say, I want to give it to my attorney. All right? So you have to use common term language. Okay, one of the great things about subject to contract, and what I really pressed that attorney, which is a board certified attorney, that hey, make this shit. I mean, because it was very hard to read, dude. Make this shit where I could read. I can't even spell. I can't read that good. So if I can't read it and fully understand, I don't want other people to read it. Okay, so it's very common lang terms, very easy to understand, and then also has all the little disclosures that the seller may have not even thought about. And by them reading your contract that's specific to a subject to versus a general contract, they have more faith that you know what the fuck you're talking about, because everybody's coming with some generic contract where you're coming for a contract that's tailored to a subject to or tailored to owner financing, dude. And it has all these little things that the other contracts don't have, that disclose to the seller, that shows them, hey, you know what the fuck you're talking about, and plus you're talking about other stuff that other investors didn't even talk about, which is very powerful. And if you want to get on my website, I sell it for, I think, for $2.99 or something, but it's a one-time investment. You have it for a life, dude, and it helps you do any type of owner financing. if they have a loan, if they don't have a loan. Okay, it's one of the coolest things. There's a lot of disclosures out there, and by having things like this, like my offer letter, soft offer letter, where you leave them, okay, that seller is going to help them make a decision. By using my negotiation no fluff system, it helps you to understand the psychological aspect of getting a subject to or a cash offer, and it also helps you with different types of offer structures. And by using my contract, you're basically spelling out to the seller, and they get to see it, that you're ahead of the crowd. Everybody's using a generic contract that doesn't really talk about owner financing. They're just talking about a traditional sell, what they use a realtor or something like that. And yours is just custom made just for owner financing, because that's what I do, guys. I teach entrepreneurship and I teach real estate investing without getting into significant amount of debt, without putting the stuff on your own credit card, without putting it on your company EIN number, and using other people's money. And that's what makes me different from anybody else out there. So guys, if you have any questions, leave a comment. If not, go out there and hustle and bustle. Don't take no for an answer. See you later, gang.